Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Cosmic Consciousness with Kassia. On this channel, we discuss all aspects of the ascension process. This is part 2 to the Pluto Retrograde shadow reading, and in this reading, we are utilizing the Blind Spot Oracle. So for all of you who missed part 1, go ahead and check that out. I will link it in the description box below. In part 1, we looked at the blind spots of the specific collective for which I channel, and we had the bubble and gaslighting that came out for that. So some really powerful messages there for this tribe, this collective. Now we're looking into the greater collective and the energies that are influencing the blind spots for the greater collective. Knowing and understanding, of course, that we are part of that greater collective, even though sometimes we may feel very distant from or very separated from, especially that large percentage of the greater collective who have at this time chosen the path of fear or the inorganic path, which is leading them and keeping them kind of stuck in that third density, stuck in that lower earth energy, if you will. So there is naturally going to be a certain sense of disconnect because we are operating in separate realities, but we are the bridge that is meant to connect these realities and also assist people who are wanting to move forward into this fifth dimensional earth, this beautiful organic construct and timeline, to do so if they so choose and if they so wish. And so it is important, I think, for us to not only understand what's going on in the collective, because we are to an extent still part of that collective, and also because we are here to assist that collective, those who choose and who are wanting to choose a new way. So yeah, I think that's all I really need to say about that. We want to keep ourselves energetically sovereign, right? We want to keep ourselves energetically clear. We don't want to take on any of their energies, any of their stuff. We don't want to absorb any of that, but we do want to be here available in our sovereignty if and when some do choose another way, do find that love light within themselves and decide that they want to shed some of this density and meet us in that higher timeline. So the 3 cards that came out for the greater collective, we had 2. So we had 67 and 68, which is really interesting because we got 69 for this tribe and this individual collective. And as I was shuffling these, the 69 came out separate. These 2 did fall out together, but this one was a completely separate shuffle. So it's really interesting how we have this kind of buildup of energy here. And for those who are wondering, as I usually pull my cards live, I did begin this reading at the end of the Pluto Retrograde 5-5 Portal Part 2 video, but I felt that it was best to do it as a separate video. And so I kind of separated that out, and I am getting deeper into these energies and messages here. So with that being said, we're going to look into these energies, 67, 68, and 17. And 67 is, I believe, the card of disconnection. Yes, disconnection. And these are sigils, right? So they contain a vibration, they contain a frequency that is meant to help awaken within you the understanding of these energies and sort of bring that energy and the awareness up from the shadows, which is pretty cool. So go ahead and take a look at that card as I begin to talk about this energy a little bit. And this energy of disassociation, or disconnection rather, but I don't think it was a mistake that I said disassociation, right? Because that is a trauma response. And really this energy in and of itself is a response to trauma, this disconnection. This is where some people are disconnecting just because it's easier, because that gap between their soul and their higher self and their three-dimensional self is getting larger and larger. And there are a lot of reasons for this. We're not going to get completely into all of the energies surrounding this right now, but what I can say is that disconnection, and then this card was self-harm. And these are really, really heavy energies, right? That we can absolutely see and feel within the collective. And they also speak to this energy of transhumanism. And this agenda that is in place, that is being enacted, that is quite literally creating humans that are part artificial, artificial intelligence, and part organic, part inorganic and part organic. There's a lot of energy that goes into this, and we may not be able to speak freely about all of it on this channel, this medium. I, in the future, am probably going to start a Rumble account as well, so that we can really get into some of these topics that we're going to be getting into in the coming months. But for now, let's just say that this disconnection is designed. There is a disconnect between the higher self and this human construct, right? There is a disconnect between the spirit and the body. There is a disconnect with each other. And this energy is just getting deeper and deeper. And it's sort of like, as we choose these opposing timelines, right? These opposing earths, these opposing dimensions, however you want to understand this energy, right? Those who choose the lower inverted timelines, the lower density, right? The path of fear. It's like they are becoming more and more systematically disconnected from their soul self, from their higher self, from their light. And those of us who are choosing the organic path are having the opposite experience, right? We're having the experience of ascension. We're having this experience of becoming more and more connected to our higher selves, to our soul selves. So it's this complete juxtaposition of energy. Becoming more and more connected, becoming more and more disconnected. And this is going to continue to intensify on both sides. It's like the path of ascension and the path of descension is almost really what it feels like. And so there's this disconnect happening for people in the general collective. And there is an energy of this as well. We talked about disconnection as a trauma response. Some people in that way too, just feeling like they need to disengage. Because when they do connect with their soul self, when they do connect with their hearts, it's like the energy there is so heavy because there's so much infringement, there's so much pain and trauma and suffering that hasn't been addressed, that they don't know how to address it. They don't even have a name for, because they don't even understand what's going on, right? It hurts so much to be there that the easier thing to do is to disconnect, to just go through the motions of daily life, right? So that is an energy, a very, very prevalent energy that we are working with, a very, very powerful energy. And the more we disconnect from our souls, the more we disconnect from each other, right? So we no longer have that intimate human connection. We no longer have that connection to our soul. And so that connection to our light becomes dimmer and dimmer, right? Because our heart's our soul. That is how we connect to our light. All right, and so this opens the doorway for all kinds of lower vibrational behaviors and energies. And I want to see, I'm going to read a little bit of this for you. Let's see. Someone can be so focused on projects they are doing with the kids that they fail to connect with the kids while they are doing it. And the kids feel neglected and as if the project is more important, because they are disconnected from their children's worlds and feelings and thoughts and desires and needs. A person can do things in a certain way and have no awareness about why they are doing it, because they are disconnected from their own childhood. A man can believe in a truth or do things without questioning it at all, because he is disconnected from his own inner voice and conscience. A person can look at the world and not recognize themselves in other things in the world, or their connection to them, to the degree that they can declare war that kills millions. And wait before you convince yourself that spiritual people are the exception to this rule. Think again. Spirituality has become one more tool that people use to enhance their disconnection, but to justify it. For example, the spiritual teaching pain is an illusion is a way to disconnect from the reality of other people's pain. The belief that the higher self has no external needs and the identification with the self over all others is one way of disconnecting from the needs that aren't being met by others and the pain that causes. Positive focus can be a way to disconnect from half of the reality of life and all of one's negative emotions. Open relationships and polyamory can be a way of disconnecting from one's own fear of abandonment and fear of attachment. Disidentification can be a way to disconnect with life. Spiritual medicines can be a way of disconnecting with reality and with one's own physical embodiment. And this list can go on and on. Let's see. If you have drawn the sigil, you're being asked to see your disconnection. You're being called to transition out of the state and into connection. Reestablish your connection with whatever you have disconnected from. And the card that follows on the heels of that is the card of self-harm. And allow that sigil to sink into your consciousness as well, to help to begin to bring up to the surface anywhere where this energy is still present in your reality. And when you're disconnected from yourself, it's easy to harm the self, right? I know for some people it's kind of an interesting distinction where it's like, I know for me personally, in my own experience, there were times when I was younger where self-harm was one of the only ways that I could get myself to feel anything. And it was one of the only ways that I knew to relieve the pain inside. Okay, this is when I didn't know how to process my emotions. And so we can see that energy from that light, like self-harm that we recognize, self-harm that comes from a place of deep self-loathing, a lack of self-love, right? Belief systems accumulated over lifetimes from experiences that taught us that we were unlovable, that taught us that we were bad, that taught us that we deserved and needed to be punished. This comes up so often in belief work sessions that I do with people. It's come up within myself as well. Okay, so there are the ways that we knowingly self-harm, or consciously self-harm, I guess I could say, and there are the ways that we unconsciously self-harm. All right, this is addictions, right? Even addictions that not everyone recognizes as addictions, right? Being addicted to unfulfilling relationships, right? Continuing in behaviors that are harming our self-worth. Okay, consuming things that are not good for us. Allowing our minds to carry away with us, right? That's a form of self-harm. It's like we have like emotional cutting and we have like mental cutting, right? And these are ways that we harm ourselves without physically harming ourselves. All right, so we have energy such as that. So many different ways that we do this. Just simply neglecting the self, a lack of self-care is a form of self-harm. So there are so many ways that we do this. And really, if we think about it, our world is kind of designed around this energy, isn't it? Many of the pastimes that are offered to us are actually self-harming in nature. The indoctrination, the ways that we are trained to live, think, and behave is harmful in nature. The very way that this world is set up is harmful in nature. And so, of course, this energy becomes not even second nature, it becomes like first nature to us, right? And so we definitely see that energy in the collective as well. Yep, self-criticism. Let's see, anything else? Yeah. And so the question here, and we've posed this question many times on here, right? What would someone who loves themselves do in this situation? All right. It's kind of like the same thing as like when we have that inner critic going in our heads, thinking to ourselves or asking ourselves, would I speak to somebody that I love deeply this way? How would I speak to that person? How would I speak to my child? How would I speak to my best friend? All right, that's the way we want to begin talking to ourselves. And most of us, we've been working on this energy, but a lot of the collective is still stuck in that energy of these harmful thought patterns, of these ways, these harmful ways of acting on behaviors. And continuing, it's like doing things that we know are going to make ourselves feel worse about ourselves. It's so funny how that so many of our coping mechanisms, and not ha-ha funny, right? Just sad funny. How many of our coping mechanisms, right, our unhealthy coping mechanisms are actually harming the self. So it's like we're using them to cope with something that we can't handle. but in the process, we're simply harming ourselves more. All right, so that's an energy that the collective is still stuck in as well. And then the last card we have out here is blame. Card number 17. And this is the energy, I mean, we all know this energy. We see this energy apparent everywhere, right? This energy of pointing the finger. This energy of people wanting to absolve themselves of all responsibility by making something somebody else's fault. This is the energy that devolves us into a victim mentality. All right? Where we imagine that we are just at the mercy of the forces around us. It absolves us, when we blame others, it absolves us from having to take any personal responsibility. And as we all know, a key part of this our soul's evolution, a key part of this ascension process is becoming responsible for our energy, taking ownership of that, right? I chose it and I love it. Understanding that we chose every situation that we encounter, that our souls chose this for our growth, right? Understanding also that we have free will and we get to make even more choices once we get down here into this density. All right? And there are consequences for those choices. All right? Blaming is another way to avoid having to look at one's own shadow, right? And it's just projections of our shadow onto other people, projections of the things we don't want to look at, deflections of guilt. And another aspect of this card talks about blaming the self as well. So that's when we fall into those energies, those really dangerous energies of self-pity, of self-hatred, all of these deep, dark energies, right? Those energies of punishment where then we end up here. Many of us tend to blame ourselves for things that are not our fault. So it's like, for a lot of the collective, I think there is an energy of a lack of taking responsibility. But for many of us as well, some of us, we take too much responsibility. And we claim energy that isn't ours. And we assume that we have more power in a situation than we do, right? We take on other people's karma. So that's an energy as well that we want to be aware of, and as we are navigating this journey. I want to look at this for a second. So it is that energy of really getting out of the victim mentality. I want to talk about that a little more, I think. The importance of moving out of that mentality and that energy. And knowing that regardless of what's going on, it's like on some level our soul chose it. So even when I've started getting into, and we're going to get more into on here, this energy, this understanding of these energies and forces. When we talk about being in a war on consciousness, when we talk about being in a spiritual war, what that means and what it is, what is on the other side of that, all right? The energies that we're dealing with. It can be really tempting when we start to understand this, to want to point the finger as well and blame. And to then again fall into a victim mentality. But I think it's really important for us to understand that even in that situation, we are not victims, all right? We are sovereign beings, and we made a choice and a decision to incarnate here so that we could have this experience. And it occurred to me as I was thinking this over, what a powerful experience it is to begin to remember the immense amount of power that we hold as souls, right? As fractals of source, as these cosmic creators. And to go through that process of really owning that power and learning how to wield that in a strong, fierce, and yet benevolent way. right? Of becoming so fractured and then coming back together, unifying within ourselves, unifying as a collective, and then bringing through that energy to really truly stand in our sovereignty and to know what it means to experience the illusion of losing that and to regain that and step back into that. That's really powerful, and that is a gift that this experience is giving every single one of us. We all chose to come here on one level or another. The people watching this channel, the majority of you chose to come here because you wanted to be of assistance to humanity. You wanted to be of assistance to this planet. And really, you wanted this experience because it's a hell of an experience, like we just said. All right? What more impressive feat than to allow ourselves to descend into all of this density with these powerful adversaries and yet find a way to come out on top, right? What a powerful experience to see love prevail over all. To know and understand ourselves as part of that love, as vessels, portals of that love. All right? And to fill ourselves up with that love and feel once again how powerful we become. That is an incredible experience. That is not a victim experience. All right? That is not the experience of a victim. That is the experience of a victor. Remember, victimhood is all in the perspective. We do not have to define ourselves in those terms. We can rise above that energy. We can see ourselves as that. That's our choice. Or we can see ourselves in a different light from a different perspective and empower ourselves. So that's all I wanted to say about that, I think. Let's see. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered this energy, honestly. This energy of blame, this polarization, and I believe we talked about the polarization in the first part of this video. Right? It keeps us stuck in a loop. It's keeping the collective stuck in a loop. So these are the energies that we are experiencing within ourselves as well. To one extent or another, we may find aspects of this popping up as Pluto's retrograde continues. And it is, I didn't say in the other, I've said it in a couple of the videos. I haven't said it in every one though. But I am going to look here and see if I can find the date for you all again. I believe it's October that Pluto goes direct again. Let's see, I just clicked on the same one twice. Here we go. This is where I have the dates here. Yeah, Pluto stations direct on October 11th, so just after the 1010 portal at 27 degrees of Capricorn. Check out all the other videos. I just put out a bunch of them related to Pluto's transit in Aquarius, related to the 5-5 portal, related to Pluto retrograde. So much going on. This is such a powerful process. If anything, check out the part 1 of the Pluto retrograde in the 5-5 portal video, because we go over a lot of these energies and stuff that's really important to know and understand that we're working with as we're moving forward here. I think, do I want to do something to close this reading for you guys? Yeah, I'm going to pull one of these cards. The Earth Warriors Oracle. I want to pull one of these to close. I thought about pulling another blind spot card, but I feel like I want to leave on a clear. I want to leave this video on a different note. And like I said, if you guys didn't check out the first part of this video, go ahead and do so. But let's get some guidance, some closing guidance for Pluto retrograde here. For all my beautiful Earth Warriors, from the Earth Warriors Oracle. Oh, beautiful. So we have Hiaka, Sorceress of Light, card 40 coming out here. This is an absolutely beautiful deck as well. And did I hold that up for you guys? I'm not sure if I did or not, so you could see this is the deck that we're working with. I'm going to find this and then I'm going to hold that up while I read for you. Oh, we're right near the end. There's 44 cards in this deck. Oh, and card number 4 on the bottom of the deck. All right. No enemy shall defeat you, not by night nor by day, not upon the earth nor in the soul. You are divinely protected and empowered. You shall fulfill your destiny with joy in your heart and laughter in your belly. Play. Be in nature. Feel the freedom of happiness within you even in this moment. These are your sacred powers, and with them you shall take every step upon your journey successfully, and nothing shall thwart your divine destiny. A little tongue twister there. Let's see. Ask for healing, mentoring, or assistance to support you now. This support will help you feel stronger and more empowered so as to deal with any challenge and be reassured that your spirit can handle it. There is spiritual protection for you now as you follow the guidance to explore conscious movement and creative self-expression. This can stir up old energy, releasing it from you and allowing vital presence to take hold within you. You are going through an initiation in which you will need to reassert your happiness and joy anytime it slips into the darkness of doubt, fear, or anxiety. Take time to dance, sing, drum, and affirm your aliveness with joy and courage. Become spiritually bolder in the face of anything that attempts to diminish you. Have faith in the power of the divine being, the supreme power. You are watched over by love. Hiaka, a goddess of Hawaii, watches over the sacred dancers of the hula and the arts of chant, sorcery, and medicine. Hers is the medicine of light, sound, and the ability to penetrate the darkness of lower-level consciousness, which could overwhelm our sense of spirit, joy, heart, and inspiration with defeatism, despair, boredom, and even terror. This type of onslaught from darkness comes at certain times to those seeking to embody and enact the light on earth. One of these times may be when we are feeling strong and making progress, and we feel tested to sustain that higher level of being and awareness even through challenge. Another of these times may be when we feel weaker, more vulnerable, perhaps fatigued from a challenging time and just not quite able to summon the quality of our own joy. In such moments upon the spirit warrior's path of light, Hiaka assists. Hiaka is said to dwell in a grove of lehua trees, which are sacred to her as the place where she spent her time dancing with the forest spirits. Hiaka's name translates as she who lifts darkness. He is from lifting of the hip, and Aka means shadow. As patroness of sacred dancers, she reminds us that with a simple movement of our hip, we can move into the dance and connect with joy. It is said that one of the first things that a shaman will ask of a person who is plagued by demons, or in our modern parlance, unable to summon the energy for their truthful fulfillment and sacred purpose in the world, is, when was the last time you danced? Dancing, whether literally moving your body to music or symbolically in whatever makes your being light up, is a way to invoke aliveness that we can tap into the joy that counteracts darkness. Consider what makes you feel like your soul is dancing. Make time and space for it in your life as a practice for sustaining and strengthening your spirit. Part of Hiaka's divine purpose is bearing the clouds, providing rain, thunder, and lightning. Her wisdom reminds us that movement in itself can be healing. When energy becomes stagnant, we struggle. This doesn't mean we abstain from rest, because true rest allows energy to circulate through our being. This is why we emerge from rest feeling renewed and refreshed. Movement to circulate energy means flowing in relationship with our bodies, minds, and souls, trusting our inner rhythms. Most modern lifestyles make it difficult to live an honest relationship with the mind and body. It can be tricky to find the time and place to authentically and spontaneously honor our natural needs for expression and flow. So we summon our wisdom and creativity to find a way. Hiaka says that we must. We must be willing to move with the storm wisdom within us, or we shall be moved by the storm wisdom around us. Ooh, I'm going to read that again. We must be willing to move with the storm wisdom within us, or we shall be moved by the storm wisdom around us. We will be moved by those events which startle us from our routine when we are falling asleep, rather than resting and living. Give yourself permission to explore a more authentic relationship with yourself and trust that in the process, the changes that will happen. And sometimes those changes will include how we live and work, where we live, and with whom we share our lives, will be healing. So really, once again, guidance coming through to tap into our inner joy, right? To connect with ourselves, to move stagnant energy through dance, through movement. One interesting thing that I learned recently was working with the energy of fire and quite literally dancing to the rhythm of the flame. And so finding ways to work with the elements in those ways, to dance with the elements, to dance in the rain, right? Literally and metaphorically, allowing the working both with movement and the elements to cleanse you and clear you and purify you, and knowing that we are all so, the other thing that this card spoke of for me was the fact that we are all so incredibly protected. All right. We are, whatever this new level of realization, right, that we are encountering, and however it may, whatever fears it may stir within us, don't allow those to overwhelm you. Know that just as there is an extent of darkness in this universe, there is an equal or greater extent of light. All right? This universe is light, and it will constantly reset itself back to the organic way that it was intended to be. All right, we are infinite beings of source, love, light. Allow the movement of your body to remind you of that, to tap you back into your heart, to tap you back into your spirit. Clear. Tap you back into that sacred flame that burns within. All right, you guys, hold the light. Perfect reminder there as well. I love you. I appreciate you. You are so beautiful. You are so loved. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. You know all the jazz that I always say. If you want to book a personal session with me, my email is in the description box below, as well as my website. So much love to each and every single one of you. Bye.